Tonight, we are keeping a close eye on Hurricane Milton as this powerful storm gets ever so closer to Florida. Emergency leaders stress time is running out to get ready. I'm Ginger Gadsden.
Yeah, glad you're with us tonight. I'm Matt Austin. Meteorologist Samara Kokinos is pinpointing how things stand right now. So, Samara, as the track is looking at this moment and the timeline that we're seeing, are we thinking midday tomorrow we'll start to see some of those squall lines?
Absolutely. So we'll start to see them really ramp up in the second half of the afternoon, getting closer to those evening hours. So we really want you to go ahead and wrap everything up if you are doing anything last minute. It's going to start to rain early in the day, but it really starts to pick up in terms of storms heading into the afternoon. So kind of wrap everything up around 12, 1 o'clock if you can, or earlier the better. But when we look at this storm, very healthy Category 5 Hurricane Milton, 160 mile per hour winds. The pressure is about 915 millibars. Moving to the northeast at 12 miles per hour, you can see it kind of jog there, driven by a dip in the jet stream that is also going to kind of help guide it a little more to the north and then push it to the east-northeast, heading toward the next, I would say, 12 to 14, even 16 hours. So, but this system definitely seeing a lot of wobbles in the history. So a lot of our spaghetti models are starting to, I do believe, pick up on that. And so that's the reason why we've seen that shift in a lot of the modeling. But the thing is, the National Hurricane Center still has that cone right over Central Florida, and we are going to feel impacts well outside this storm, even as it's expected to interact with maybe a little bit of wind shear, not going to break it down by much, and we will have a little bit of dry air infiltration. But look at this, upon landfall, anywhere between a strong Category 3 or a Category 4. We're going to see the intensity fluctuate just a little bit, but it maintains hurricane intensity as it makes its way across the peninsula, across Central Florida, and then exits into the Atlantic. So we are going to feel impacts well outside this cone. I'm going to show you exactly what we're talking about in terms of storm surge, wind gusts, rain potential. It's all going to be there, folks. So just get ready. We need you to go ahead and turn on those alerts on your phone to get some, because we do have the potential to see some tornadic activity as well. Matt and Ginger.
All right, Sarah, thank you. Osceola County is opening several shelters. Just hours ago, a special needs shelter opened at the Osceola Council on Aging. That's in Kissimmee. At 5 in the evening, a shelter opened for people who live in Good Samaritan Village. You may recall the community got hit with major flooding during Hurricane Ian. If you live in the Good Samaritan Village, you can go to the shelter at Central Avenue Elementary School, and starting at 8 a.m., several pet-friendly shelters will open to the public. They're located at Kissimmee Middle School, Harmony High School, Gateway High School, and Liberty High School. The county is also opening 3 other shelters at Celebration High School, the Kenansville Community Center, and the Holopaw Community Center. News 6's Eric Sandoval joins us live from Lake Toho now. Eric, what are you seeing out there this morning?
Well, you know, like Samara was saying, Osceola County, Kissimmee area, you know, as that storm wobbles, this is still one of the places that really needs to look out. Pay attention to those evacuation orders and those shelters opening a little bit later. We're right outside the Big Toho Marina, and you know, as Milton comes through this area, it's going to be coming over Lake Toho and basically throwing all of the water from the lake this way towards the marina. I want to show you a little bit of how this marina is getting ready for this. Of course, this marina has been standing for quite a while, so they know how to get ready for hurricanes. But as we go over here to the gift store, you can see that they have a few sandbags protecting the inside so no water gets in. And then right around the corner here, you know, traditionally, this is where people would eat outside, enjoy a view of the boats and everybody going out. You can see they put some cinder blocks on top of the tables here. That's to protect the high winds. Now, I want you guys to use this as a reminder. If you have some stuff that's maybe on your front porch, your back patio, either bring it in or maybe find some cinder blocks or something really heavy to weigh it down. You don't want these things going airborne and becoming projectiles. And I think, you know, even construction sites, that's a really big concern. We have a few hours before this storm hits, so basically use that time. If you're going to bed right now, set your alarm. First thing when you get up, go to your back patio, go to your front porch, either bring them into your garage or get something really heavy to secure them, because we really don't want them hurting anybody. One more thing I want to pass along. This waterfront area here in downtown Kissimmee has a big homeless population. We understand that there is a bus that is going to come through a bit later on this morning and bring all the homeless people to a homeless shelter so they will be protected from the storm's elements. We had that question earlier today because frankly, we've seen a lot of them. So that's it for right now from downtown Kissimmee. We're going to go back downtown, bring you a little bit more up from there coming up in the next hour. Guys, back to you.
All right, Eric, we'll see you in a little bit. Thank you.
It's always interesting to see the different philosophies. At the Austin House, we call it Hurricane Jenga, how we're going to situate things in the garage.
You got to figure it
stuff
out.
outdoors. Yeah, it's an interesting plan. Okay. All right, moving more inland now. We know many people are rushing to make sure their gas tanks are full.
Yeah, so News 6's Ryan Welch joins us now from a gas station in Orange County. And Ryan, what are you seeing out there? Oh, look, are you okay, I see what you're doing there. You might want to give some of that to Troy Campbell because they don't have gas.
Look, Ginger Matt, I got to give full credit to my photographer, Nathaniel Rivas, a young, fertile mind. He said, you know, we've been sitting here at Winter Park for a few hours. Why don't we fill up while we're here? And sure enough, that's exactly what we did. That's what a lot of folks have been able to do here at the Speedway in Winter Park. There's been no issue with gas shortage here whatsoever. We've seen streams of cars all throughout the evening. It's been a lot of success for a lot of Central Floridians coming here. Now, it wasn't the same situation earlier on. Driving up and down Winter Park, several gas stations had run out of gas. Some of them had some premium left, but others completely empty. In fact, we saw one station where the attendant came out and he was putting a bag on the pump right as we pulled up, and other cars were driving right out of there, and they were out of luck. Now, earlier on tonight, right here at the Speedway, this has been the gold mine. We caught up with a woman from Eatonville who came here, and she got to fill her up. We're talking now to Mary. Mary lives in Eatonville. Mary, you found a gas station that's got some gas. Have you had a long search tonight, or has it been pretty easy?
It was pretty easy. This is the first place I came to tonight.
Were you worried at all? Had you heard any stories about some gas shortages? Because there have been a lot of stations that have run out of gas.
Yes, my sister-in-law told me in 75 didn't have no gas. So I like it under a fourth of a tank, so I had to come and fill up.
So how are you feeling right now?
I feel fine.
As far as the rest of your storm preparations are going, how do you feel about those?
I feel pretty good. I'm going to pray in the Lord that everything take care of me.
Oh, Mary, deeply religious woman. We're praying for her. We're praying for everyone here in Central Florida and around as we get set for Hurricane Milton to come on. And don't want to pat ourselves on the back too much, but about an hour or so ago, we saw a guy from Ocoee pull up next to us, roll the window down, and said, hey, listen, thank you very much for telling us where the gas was, because I've been out and about for about 45 minutes, couldn't find anything, saw your report, came over here to Winter Park. So anything we can do to get some results in this time of need, we're happy to do it. Reporting live from Winter Park, Ryan Welch, Getting Results, News 6.
He's flexing all over the place tonight.
He is, helping people out. Interesting, if you watch the news, you've got some options, and also people are posting on Facebook when maybe a tanker truck comes.
Great job, Brian. Thank you. Our coverage on Hurricane Milton and the preparations continues next.
Brevard County shelters are opening 3 shelters in just a few hours. They will be at the South Mainland Community Center in Mico, the Walter Butler Community Center in Cocoa, and the Wickham Park Community Center in Melbourne. They are set to open at 9 a.m.
News 6's James Sparvero joins us now from Harbor Heights. That's in Cape Canaveral this morning. James.
Hey, Matt and Ginger. Yeah, I'm at the Harbor Heights Beach Access. It's beach access in my neighborhood here in Cape Canaveral. And I'm trying to get a feel for what it's going to feel like maybe in 24 hours, if it's safe enough for us to come back out here and show you the beach then. Right now we have just a little bit of wind, but other than that, it's really just a beautiful late night here at the beach. Way windier when I was reporting with you for Hurricane Helene 2 weeks ago now. About those shelters you mentioned, so Brevard County is really advising the shelters are for those who maybe live in mobile homes. They're worried about the mobile homes with maybe a Category 1 by the time it potentially gets to Brevard County passing through, and people who live in those low-lying flood-prone areas, which is who the county also advised to come out to get all the sandbags at the 4 countywide sandbag distributions that ran yesterday and today. And there were also some city-run sandbag distributions in Brevard as well, like in Palm Bay and Cape Canaveral over the past 2 days. But in my neighborhood, what I've noticed, definitely different than Helene, and it makes a lot of sense, obviously, when you look at the paths of those 2 storms and you compare them, it seems like people are definitely taking the threat of this storm much more seriously, considering that they're putting up their hurricane shutters. I've seen a lot of hurricane shutters put up in the last 24 hours. Some of my own neighbors, some businesses on A1A and Atlantic Avenue in Cape Canaveral. We've also seen some people who have evacuated from the Tampa Bay area here to Brevard County. They're worried about their homes, they're worried about their property, but grateful at the same time maybe they had family members or someone they know to come to over here. It reminds me of Hurricane Irma, guys, back in 2017. I saw a lot of the same thing, people coming from the Gulf Coast to our East Coast seeking refuge, where they were able to get it.
All right, that's what we expect to see, and hopefully our shoreline doesn't get messed up too much from this thing, but we know you'll keep track of it for us. James Barbero, thank you. And as Hurricane Milton moves closer and closer to Florida, there are precautions now in place. The Army Corps of Engineers installing one of those tiger dams around the Lake Monroe Hospital in Sanford. Flooding near HCA Lake Monroe is always a concern during these storms. We've had live shots out there for many years in the past when it is really rumbling out there on the lake.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It is a big concern. So elsewhere in Seminole County, businesses are all boarded up. News 6's Catherine Silver has the latest from Sanford.
It is a quiet night here in downtown Sanford, but it is certainly a nice night as well. And people are out enjoying it. We've seen a few of them enjoying some dinner, maybe some drinks here downtown before they have to stay inside tomorrow. Now, there are signs of Milton heading our way. If you take a look at one business behind me, they actually have taken they've actually boarded up their windows. They have spray painted some messages on there saying that they're open tonight. Of course, they want to make sure that their windows are protected for tomorrow. Right across the other side of Palmetto, and this is actually First Street in downtown Sanford, you'll see a lot of other businesses haven't boarded up their windows. They have taken other precautions. There's some sandbags in the front of a boutique that's right on the corner here, and I'm sure some other businesses have also put out sandbags as well. That's something we typically see here in downtown Sanford whenever there is a hurricane headed our way. We heard from Seminole County's emergency manager today that flooding is certainly a concern with Milton. Of course, more rain on top of the recent rain we've already had could cause problems. He also said expect power outages. Now, it's nice to see all the lights here tonight, and hopefully it stays that way. But the reality is, the emergency manager said it's likely that 90%, up to 90% of Seminole County will lose power during this storm. So people have been out doing what they can to prepare tonight while they have the time, getting gas, making sure they have that for their cars and generators, getting those sandbags, getting water and other groceries. And of course, they're ready to hopefully stay inside tomorrow and ride out this storm. For now in Seminole County, I'm Catherine Silver, getting results, News 6.
Catherine, you see those lights dangling up high there, and you wonder how much wind would it take to blow those down?
Yeah, I hope we don't find out the answer anytime soon, but likely we will.
All right, Samara Kokinos, our meteorologist, has a look at this monstrosity of a storm we call Milton. This thing's a backup. What are the wind speeds right now, Samara?
They're at 160 miles per hour.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a very healthy Category 5 storm, so when we're looking at it even making landfall, we're talking about a strong 3. And as of the latest track, which I'll show you, is a 4. So we are expecting quite a bit of power outages. There's going to be trees down, limbs down, blocking the roadways. There's going to be water out there. So it could take some time before they are able to restore that power. But looking at this system, you could see the history of the track kind of taking it a little wobbly. And so I think that a lot of the models are shifting everything a little bit to the south by overcompensating for that data. But again, the National Hurricane Center hasn't adjusted the cone hardly at all at this point. So I don't think we're going to see a big shift in that drastically just because models shift. So we're going to continue to watch, of course, and bring you all the updates. The next track update is at 5 o'clock in the morning. So, but looking at this system, it's made a more of a northeast path, and that's due to a dip in the jet stream. It's going to continue to kind of guide it toward the peninsula. And then what we're going to notice is as we head closer to landfall, it does weaken a little bit as it interacts with maybe a little bit of shear. It's not going to do much in terms of weakening it, and then maybe even a little bit of dry air. But the thing is, as it passes over the peninsula, and we're talking overnight Wednesday going into early morning Thursday, still Category 1 wind at 85 miles per hour passing over central Florida. So definitely going to be a strong storm, packing some big time impacts, felt well outside this storm. And this storm is still growing, okay? That's the thing. It's going to continue to expand. The wind field for tropical storm force winds is now out to 140 miles per hour from the miles from the center, not miles per hour. And then the hurricane force winds are still tightly packed at about 30 miles from the center. So we're going to continue to see this system grow, and as it does, that wind field is going to expand. So again, you're going to feel these impacts even well outside that track. So just be prepared for, again, quite a bit of heavy rain. And when we look at the overall impacts here, zooming out, when we're talking about storm surge, what we're looking at here is the wrapping around, and that basically that wind is going to push all of that water, bringing anywhere up to about 12 feet of storm surge from Tampa going back down Cape Coral, also anywhere between about 9 to 12 inches along our, and this is worst case scenario at this point, along our eastern coast. Look at this, anywhere between about 3 to 6 feet of storm surge quite possible. So again, this is going to be a big thing as it shifts out over the open Atlantic. All of that water is going to get pushed back, especially going into Volusia and Flagler counties. Radar tonight is fairly quiet, but as we head into the overnight hours, all that's going to start to change. We're going to see more showers starting to build, especially as we head into the morning tomorrow, and then into the afternoon. It kind of spreads out, and then it picks up the punch a little bit in intensity. So this is when we could see the possibility for some tornadic activity moving through central Florida tomorrow afternoon, going into tomorrow night and early Thursday morning. Notice the rainfall widespread all ahead and getting really close to that landfall, and then we start to see some drier air kind of eat up the southern half of this storm. So this is still going to be a wind event, folks. We're talking about we're talking about stronger winds, but when we talk about the moisture, it's getting trapped just by that front to the north. So it's really going to pack in, and it doesn't really have any place to go at this point but down, and we're going to see those numbers really start to tally up. And if the system verifies on this track, we're definitely seeing all of that to our north. But if it moves a little bit to the south, we'll see those numbers expand down into the metro. So we'll be watching for those changes to bring you them as they happen. So rainfall potential anywhere between, I'm going to say, up to 10 inches in isolated maximums, possibly even exceeding that number, but generally between 4 to 8 inches of rain. Wind a gust potential 75 to 100 miles per hour down the I-4 corridor back to the north and west. Up to 75 mile per hour wind gusts is what you can expect. So be prepared. Have all the alerts enabled on your devices. A NOAA radio comes in handy, and maybe even taking shifts between other family members so someone stays up in the event there is a tornado warning for your area issued. You'll definitely wake up for it. Now here's a look at your pinpoint accurate 7-day forecast. I've updated that 7-day forecast for you, showing basically rain chances really high for the next couple of days as we deal with these tropical conditions. But heading into the weekend, cooler and drier air settles in. It's still going to be windy behind the system, and even as the front passes through, bringing us these conditions for the weekend, still going to be breezy. Gradual improvement is there, but it'll give us time to clean up and maybe a little bit of time to dry out. News 6, we'll be right back.
Well, the Salvation Army Orlando shared this video with us. They handed out 100 backpacks filled with essential items to individuals who are experiencing homelessness. These backpacks included crucial supplies like toiletries, blankets, washcloths, pillows, and durable shelter bags, which are really big for folks who are living out there. They're specifically designed to be waterproof and portable, so anything important they can stick in there. Along with the backpacks, the organization distributed food items, hygiene kits. They provided spiritual care as well for these folks. The city of Orlando and Orange County are urging the homeless to start going to shelters starting today. The city has teams working their way through the city, letting people know how to get to the nearest shelter. Many of these folks live in a big campsite.
Yeah.
And those tents may not fare well in this crazy weather. So they're doing some great things there at the Salvation
And I'm
Army.
glad they're going out to them, because if they don't have a place to live, they probably don't get news on a regular basis.
Right, they might not even know what's about to literally hit us. We'll have more on what to expect from the storm in less than 3 minutes. Hurricane Milton keeps inching closer and closer to Florida right now. It is an extremely powerful Category 5 storm packet, 160-mile-per-hour winds. It's dead in the face right now. Thank you for staying up late with us, or getting up early with us. I'm Matt Austin.
And I'm Ginger Gadsden. And we want to get right to meteorologist Samara Kokinos with a look at the storm's current path. And it is right on track and kind of where you guys thought it would be at this point.
Absolutely. So what we've seen is a dip in the jet stream that kind of made it move more to the north and east and helped to kind of pick up pace a little bit too. So northeast movement, 12 miles per hour. The central pressure is about 915 millibars. Very healthy Category 5 storm. 160-mile-per-hour winds. Now, I know it's weakened a little bit since yesterday when we saw it really blow up very fast, okay? But the thing is, it went through eye wall replacement, and it's already regained the strength that it lost, and then it's going to continue. What's going to happen is it's going to expand in size. We're going to see wind fields expanding. We already have tropical storm force winds expand from the center out 140 miles. Hurricane force winds still tightly packed at 30 miles away from the center. But the thing is, as the system grows, it's going to impact more people. Those wind fields are going to continue to reach outward as well. So notice that as it moves closer to the coastline, it's still showing a little bit of a weakening. But we've been telling you over the last several days, this will be between a strong Category 3 or a Category 4 hurricane. It's been wobbling between 125-mile-per-hour winds and 130-mile-per-hour winds. We're going to continue to see some adjustments in the intensity as we head into the next 24 hours or so, a little bit, but it's really not going to be too much. But you notice this cone really hasn't moved that much, and neither has the track. So by 8 a.m. early Thursday morning, we're going to be dealing with potentially Category 1 winds as it's passing by and as it exits into the Atlantic. The thing is, we've been talking a lot about the wind shear component and what it means for that storm. I don't believe that, even though we're starting to see a high level of wind shear kind of make its way closer to the Sarasota, Port Charlotte area, I don't think it's going to weaken it enough. Even the drier air is not going to weaken it enough, but we are going to see some of that drier air as it moves over the peninsula move in from the eastern side, and that's going to kind of erode a little bit of that moisture, possibly bringing rain chances down a smidge for our southern counties. I'll show you what all of that means for the forecast. It doesn't mean you're out of the woods. I can tell you that right now. We have a big-time impacts coming with this storm. Guys?
Samara, thank you. Right now, thousands of people who live along Florida's Gulf Coast are hopefully settling into a different place to sleep tonight because they have been headed east.
Yeah, and rightfully so. We've even seen traffic slowly moving on major highways. This is video from earlier on I-75 showing people trying to get out of the Tampa Bay area. News 6's Eric Von Anken joins us from Sarasota.
This is more or less the main entrance to the Barrier Islands here in Sarasota County, and you can see the bridge. This is the John Ringling Bridge. The big arch that you see if you've ever been in downtown Sarasota is officially closed. It closed at 7 p.m., and the Sarasota Police Department, the officers have been stationed here ever since with that sign telling people nobody is getting over that bridge for any reason whatsoever. We saw a situation a few hours earlier where what appeared to be an Uber driver pulled up and told the police officers he had to pick someone up. Well, they had to find out what the reason was. Of course, police want people leaving the island. They were trying to find out if he was trying to drive over there and pick someone up from one of the remaining either condos or homes there where people, in some cases, have still decided that they're going to stay. It turns out that the person wanted a ride to the bank, to an ATM to get some cash out, so police decided, no, you are not driving over. There's a concern for looters. There's a concern that most of the Barrier Island is dark. does not have power, does not have water. We know that water has been shut off to the barrier islands out there. And again, safety. They're worried about people driving around, and they don't want anyone to get the idea where they think maybe once I'm over on the island that maybe I should stay. I asked police officers, do they think that there are people staying? They said very likely so. Most people are out, but you can see in the distance some lights are still on at some of the buildings. We don't know if that's generator power. We don't know if those buildings still have power. But look at this. This is interesting here in downtown Sarasota. So we're right by the bayfront. All of the street lights are now off. So this is the main street. This is Gulf Stream right through the middle of downtown Sarasota. And you can see it's entirely dark. We asked the police, why are there no streetlights on? I mean, there's one right over our truck, right? They didn't have the answer for sure, but their suspicion is that because they're expecting water to come up over this roadway, that the city of Sarasota has turned off power to the streetlights because, of course, if power lines fall down and someone who stays here in downtown Sarasota steps outside, they could be walking into an energized power line. So again, the police believe that the streetlights around here have been purposely turned off. But all of this area as well, not just the barrier island, is also under evacuation zone, yet still evacuation order, we should say. This is one of the evacuation zones, so it's A, B, and C here that has been ordered to leave. But still, we're seeing some lights on in some of these buildings. That means that people have chosen either to stay tonight or have chosen to stay to ride this out entirely. So to give you an idea of what happened 2 weeks ago here from Hurricane Helene, police are telling me that that electronic sign on that trailer, they had it parked just up the street here. They say the water came up enough on this street, again, right by the bayfront here in downtown Sarasota. It came up enough to ruin a trailer like that. So a couple of feet or so. The road dips a little bit around here, so it depends on entirely where you were. But so 6 to 8 feet of storm surge is what came, we're told, from Hurricane Helene 2 weeks ago. What we're hearing this time around, you've heard this number, up to 15 feet of storm surge. Sarasota Bay is just to my right. It feeds right out to the Gulf. There is a channel where the water can come in and wash in from that storm surge. So can you imagine 15 feet of storm surge potentially on top of this road? That is why Sarasota County and Manatee County, where Bradenton is, and Pinellas and Hillsborough County just to the north of us. Pinellas, of course, where Clearwater and St. Pete Beach are. That's why they have these mandatory evacuations, not just for the barrier islands, but even the area like here, downtown Sarasota, so close to the water. Anything close to the water, they want people out of here, potentially for that monstrous storm surge. For now, we are in downtown Sarasota in southwest Florida. Eric Von Anken getting Results News 6.
Cannot imagine a 15-foot storm surge. In Flagler County, evacuation orders take effect in just a few hours at 8 a.m. It's for those living in mobile homes and RVs county-wide, all coastal and island communities, and those living south of State Road 100 or Moody Boulevard, and between Moody Boulevard and the Palm Coast Parkway. Also, those living north of the Palm Coast Parkway are told to evacuate.
News 6's Treasure Roberts. She joins us live there from Flagler Beach. Treasure, what are you seeing tonight?
Well, it is quiet now, but it is a bit windy. We moved over closer to the beach side in Flagler Beach, and the countdown begins. We have just about 7 hours until Flagler County officials expect people who live in coastal communities, mobile home communities, and low-lying areas to evacuate. Now, the public shelter will open up at 8 in the morning, and that'll be at Rimfire Elementary. Officials are urging you to bring your identification, to bring your medication, to bring your bedding and your clothing. They aren't accepting air mattresses, and they do accept certain pets. If you do plan to evacuate and you aren't going to a shelter, maybe you're going elsewhere or you're going to a hotel, they are asking that you leave earlier to prevent traffic on the roads, and you can let the people who are going to the shelters get on the roads right before 8. But it is pretty windy over here. I guess this is just the beginning. It's calm but the waters look very rough. You can't see it because it's so dark out here, but they have warned that there will be very dangerous rip currents. So the last place you would want to be is in the water. Actually, you don't even want to be anywhere near the water come tomorrow evening. Right down here is a dune, and over the past few years, the dune system here along A1A has been pretty fragile, and that's because it's been beat up over and over again by past hurricanes. Well, the good news is this year, actually, it was finished in September. The Florida Department of Transportation led a project to put in buried seawalls. One here along the Flagler stretch of A1A and another in the Volusia County stretch of A1A. And they said that it would be proven to prevent washouts, which is when the road is eroded by water, which we have seen happen time and time again here along the A1A, especially after Hurricane Ian. I remember covering that. So this is completely finished. The Volusia County buried seawall should be finished by next month, and it's great timing. This is something that gives the people who live in Flagler Beach just a little more relief, though they are still worried because this area most likely is going to flood. But after all, that is why officials are telling you to leave if you are living in this community, because they want you to stay out of danger. You can find out more about that public shelter on our website at clickorlando.com. And Flagler Beach, Treasure Roberts getting results, News 6.
Yeah, the thing that is so scary is like it's dark, and when we're expecting that storm to come ashore, it might be conditions like this one, and you just can't see anything. You can hear the roar of the water, but you just want to be in a safe place.
It is a scary thought.
Yeah.
Well, in Volusia County, the evacuation orders are in effect. In a few hours, it's starting at 8 a.m. for all of Zone A. So stick with me here. The areas east of the Intracoastal Waterway, now also parts of Daytona Beach, Holly Hill, Edgewater, Oak Hill, New Smyrna Beach, Ormond by the Sea, Port Orange, South Daytona, and Daytona Beach shores. The evacuation order applies countywide to people in manufactured or mobile homes, RVs, low-lying areas, and areas out there that are prone to flooding. News 6's Molly Reed joins us live from Daytona Beach now for more on what's going on in that area as they prepare to deal with Milton.
Well, Matt, not too much happening at 1 a.m. just right now, but I can tell you earlier tonight we saw a lot of business owners here around the Main Street area boarding up their windows, getting ready for what the storm could bring. We do know that, again, the biggest concerns over here are going to be the flooding and the storm surge. And Ginger and Matt, you were also just saying, thinking about how the storm is going to hit in the middle of the night, they really want people to take those evacuation orders seriously because, again, the water could be coming, especially here on the beach. They're worried about the flooding and the storm surge coming over. If you live east of the Intercoastal beach side in the middle of the night, then you won't be able to see. You have to act fast. What they were saying earlier is if you flooded again during Ian, if you got close to flooding during Hurricane Ian 2 years ago, you need to take these evacuation orders seriously because they think it'll be very similar. This was Sheriff Mike Chitwood's warning a little bit earlier today.
Ian should be fresh in everybody's mind. In 2022, we received 1,000 calls for people trapped in their homes with rising floodwaters. 5 Volusia County residents lost their death to drowning. This is extremely, extremely serious. You need to have a plan together, and you need to together to get out. And you need to remember something. Just picking up the phone and calling doesn't guarantee a regular response. Trees are going to be down, power lines are going to be down, and we're going to have to fight our way in to get you out. So now is the time to prepare to get out.
And now we have a little less than 7 hours before that mandatory evacuation really starts taking effect. Again, we've already seen deputies driving around telling people, you need to get out, take this seriously. Of course, we have ran into some people who said, we're going to try to ride this one out. But I will tell you, Ginger and Matt, there isn't too much that goes on that is very exciting at this point tonight. But we did see a very exciting sight of about 12 to 20 power trucks, FPL trucks, heading down A1A earlier. And I'll tell you, that is the most beautiful sight before her.
Very comforting.
It'll be help will be there Yep, right at the
They're
end.
going to be ready when you need them. Molly Reed reporting live. Molly, thank you. Our coverage of Hurricane Milton continues right after this break. So a lot of people have been busy getting their last-minute supplies and sandbags.
Yeah, it was one of those days we were all running around trying to get stuff done. News 6's Troy Campbell joins us now. He's live from a Wawa at Lee Road and 1792 in Orange County. Maybe too many people went to get their last-minute gas there because is it still out of gas, Troy?
Yeah, I was going to say the reason we're here is because it's the site none of us want to see right before a hurricane. They have their caution tape all around. They are completely out of gasoline. We see one car after another just pulling up, being disappointed that there isn't any gas left, them even asking us if we know where there is places to get gas. We also stopped near here in Winter Park by Ward Park where there was a sandbag location and it was already emptied out by 5 p.m. So then we headed over to Downey Park in Orlando where we saw a couple hundred cars make their way through the line, people waiting for hours. We saw people young and old all doing their part in filling the sandbags. So, of course, we had to ask somebody why it was so important for them to sit through that long line. How would you describe how many people are here?
So many. We waited for 2.5 hours to get in. So,
what is that like sitting in the vehicle 2.5 hours?
well, because my daughter was with me, it was actually pretty fun. We made it fun. I guess you just make the best of it.
Have you gotten sandbags before for your home?
When we lived in Sarasota, we did.
Yeah, well, what goes through your mind when you see all your other community members taking it very seriously as well?
I think I'm very proud of everyone. I think that as Floridians, sometimes we kind of get lax when hurricanes come, but this time around, I feel like everybody's taking it pretty serious.
And some people told us that they got caught off guard by finding out Publix had closed early. That was at about 7 p.m. We did find a Dollar Tree and people there, but they were already out of water. And we saw people going that told us that they went to several 7-Elevens looking for water and couldn't find them. We can tell you at this Wawa, they just had a supply truck come unloading some what seemed to be water not too long ago. But again, as for gasoline, it's unclear how long they will be out. Live in Orlando, Troy Campbell, getting results, News 6.
Troy, thank you. Yeah, people might be disappointed that Publix closes early, but they're trying to take care of their employees as well.
Absolutely. That is what their number one
their house
priority.
Is taken care of.
All right. Meteorologist Samara Kokinas joins us now, and she is taking a look at Hurricane Milton. This thing is right on track to do what you guys predicted initially. You know, I remember yesterday at some point it had winds of 180 miles per hour, and we thought, oh my word. It's a little weaker now at 160, but still, that's a powerful storm.
It's very, very healthy. It's actually the third fastest storm to intensify in the Atlantic Basin, only beat by Wilma and Felix. Wilma was 2005 and Felix was 2007. But when we look at the water vapor imagery, you can see a very healthy storm. I mean, look at all the moisture associated with it. You see the eye right there. And it has shifted a little bit more to the north and east and picked up some pace because of the dip in the jet stream. You see here a lot of that drier air in the upper levels of the atmosphere, but all this moisture, what's going to happen ahead of this front it is going to guide it right into central Florida along the Gulf Coast is basically it's going to trap all of that moisture and really have some rainfall totals start to add up, and we're going to see excessive rain in a lot of places. So when we look at the actual track, you'll notice that the intensity has been going between about a strong Category 3 at 125 miles per hour before landfall, and now it's shifted back to a Category 4 at 130 miles per hour. That's a 5 mile per hour difference. We've been telling you that it could possibly do that, and we'll continue to see a few more intensity changes with every run. But when we look at the intensity, it maintains that hurricane force as it crosses over the peninsula and exits by, I would say, tomorrow night. So late in the evening, we'll see some gradual improvement late in the day going into the evening hours from, of course, southwest to north and east. But the overall impact that we're going to feel is definitely some heavy rain and even the potential to see those really strong wind gusts and of course, supercell. So we're talking about tornadic activity. Overnight, though, I think we'll start to see the buildup in rain, but we're not talking about that intensity really firing up until we get into the afternoon. And I'm talking about the second half of the afternoon. We're starting to see it spread out, some more moisture kind of coming into play, dumping down a lot of rain ahead of landfall with this system. This is what we're talking about. Big time moisture is packed into it. So when we look at the 4 p.m. run, this is where we start to see a few severe thunderstorms start to pop up in the second half of the day. This is where we could see that spinning in motion. So it should be brief, should be small, but the thing is they still do damage. Notice that as the system kind of progresses across the peninsula by early Thursday morning, we're looking at some of that drier air intrusion. But look at this, the front to the north and then the top or the northern half of this storm is going to be packed with moisture, folks. So it has just really got to dump it across our northern zones. So primarily north of Orlando, whereas numbers south of that could very well kind of shave down a little bit. But the thing is, we're still going to have some wrapping around that will continue to add to it. Winds are not going to die down behind this system really quickly. They're going to gradually decrease heading into the weekend as that cooler, drier air filters in. But rainfall, we're looking at some potentials for, I would say, in excess of these numbers here on the GFS run across our northern zones, possibly between 10 and even 12 inches of rain, while our southern zones, I'd say, between 3 to 6 inches. So there's another look here at the rainfall totals. I think this particular model, our in-house model, has a better grasp on it, where it shows that 10 to 12 inch range from the villages going back toward Palm Coast and the slightly lower ones. But keep in mind, it's not going to take much rain to really cause any flooding. Also, expected wind gusts, here we go, 55 to 75 miles per hour, mainly from Orlando to the north. But notice around this Tampa Bay area, it's extending into Polk County. We could see wind gusts exceed 100 miles per hour. And then from, I would say, south of the Orlando metro going in Osceola and most of Brevard, 75 to 100 mile per hour wind gusts. And those could also go back north. It really is going to depend on exactly where this landfall is going to happen. So as we look at the 7-day forecast, definitely tropical conditions over the next couple of days. Behind that cooler, drier air was going to settle in. It's going to give us an opportunity to dry out and also clean up behind the system. We're talking about a lot of canopy damage potential. Roads are going to be blocked. Power is going to be out, and it could be days before we get it back. Guys?
All right, Samara, thank you. Our coverage of Hurricane Milton continues right after this break.
Well, take a look at this. This is a nice sight if you've ever been through a hurricane in the state of Florida. Power crews are ready for Milton. Duke Electric has this staging area in Sumter County, and as soon as this hurricane passes through, those trucks are going to be headed to places that are without power.
I mean, these are people who are doing the Lord's work. News 6's Mike DeForest joins us now live from there. And Mike, I know that is a sight to behold, especially after a storm.
It is, and it's one strategically placed. It's a Duke Energy facility, but they could tell by the path of this storm that they felt this area in Sumter County was a great place to stage. So once that storm does move through, they will have close proximity to not just Central Florida, but also the Gulf Coast, Tampa, and those areas that will undoubtedly lose power as this storm roars through. Back there, you can see just some of the trucks parked right now. We were out here last night, and we were able to, just before sunset, get some video, give you a little bit better idea of just the scope of this place here. It is just amazing, and it's an unbelievable operation with Duke Energy coordinating hundreds of trucks. They have room here for about 2,500 power trucks, crews coming from all over the country. We've seen license plates from just a bunch of different states here. There was concern that a lot of these resources might have been tied up in North Florida and North Carolina and Georgia, but they are expecting to have about 5,000 power crews, individuals here in Central Florida, and about 16,000 statewide. So there is definitely going to be personnel, but they cannot move until that storm moves through. So right now, all of the crews that parked their trucks here, they are spending the night at a hotel. They'll be riding out the storm at that hotel once the storm finally clears, some damage assessment crews from Duke Energy will start going out there to try to find out where the problem areas are and what needs to be done to fix it. And that's when the bulk of these trucks will just come rolling out to go save the day and start putting those broken lines back together. And we've seen over here, if you look, there are reels. It's a little dark, but big spools of power line ready to be taken out there. Over in the back corner, we just saw stacks and stacks of wooden power poles to replace the ones that are going to get snapped in the storm. So they've got the gear, they've got the manpower, they've got the equipment. Now we just got to wait for the storm to go through. But they do say it is inevitable that we're going to lose some power during this. Reporting live in Sumter County, Mike DeForest, News 6. Back to you guys.
Yeah, they're doing what the rest of us are doing. Just you have to play the waiting game. Mike, thank you.
Thinking about the logistics.
Oh my gosh.
Figuring out 5,000 crews where they're going. Our coverage of Hurricane Milton and preparations that are happening even in the middle of the night continue next.
Tonight or this morning, we are keeping a very close eye on Hurricane Milton as this powerful storm gets ever closer to Florida. Emergency leaders stress time is running out to prepare. I'm Ginger Gadsden.
Yeah, so glad you're with us tonight. Meteorologist Samara Kokinos is pinpointing where things stand right this second. Samara.
Absolutely. So as we take a look here, we're going to be waiting for that intermediate advisory to come in at 2 o'clock this morning. So about another 30 minutes or so before we get the information. It's not a track update, but it'll definitely give us an update if any of these statistics or these current data plots here change. So we're still packing 160-mile-per-hour winds. A very healthy Category 5 storm moving to the northeast. You'll notice it takes that little jog there with the dip in the jet stream, kind of giving it that guidance and giving it a little bit more forward motion, but still with central pressure at about 915 millibars. So this storm, now you'll notice that the path has been a little wiggly, so we call it a wobble, and it's going to wobble a few more times, but I think it's been impacting a lot of the model guidance. Everybody's saying, what about this southerly shift? Well, the thing is, when we look at the forecast, it's still going to have a certain amount of error in it because we're still about 24 hours out. Now, that error gets less and less, but again, keep in mind, the hurricane is not an exact spot. What you're going to feel is well outside the center of this storm. So notice it does show a little bit of weakening as it heads closer to the coast, but we've been telling you for the last couple of days that it's been going between intensities of a strong Category 3 at 125 miles per hour on landfall to possibly that Category 4 that they're showing in the intensity model right now. Regardless, it's going to make its way and maintain some hurricane intensity as it crosses the peninsula and exits into the Atlantic. We are going to feel impacts well outside of. We're talking about tropical storm force winds extending from the center 140 miles. This system continues to grow, and as it does, we're going to see that wind field expand and impact more and more people. So looking at the storm surge really quick here, if it follows this path, we're still going to see the potential to see about 12 feet of storm surge there, anywhere from Tampa going to the south. But if it does nudge a little bit more to the south, that's when we would see kind of like what we saw in Ian, where all the water got pushed away, and that's indicative when you look up the coastline and you see those slightly lesser amounts of storm surge. Meanwhile, back here in the Atlantic coast, worst case scenario, 3 to 6 feet all up and down, going into Brevard County, Volusia, and even Flagler County. So this is going to have big time impacts along both coasts, but I can tell you the wind and the rain and the potential for tornadic activity are all in the forecast over the next 24 hours. This system, it's going to take roughly about 12 hours to cross over the peninsula, okay? We're going to see the worst of the weather arrive late tomorrow night and really linger with us through at least Thursday afternoon. So we'll break down all the timing, what you can expect to see in terms of rainfall picking up throughout your day tomorrow, also what you can expect for wind gusts, and of course, rainfall accumulations coming up in just a few minutes. Matt and Ginger?
A lot to talk about, Samara. Thank you. Osceola County is opening several shelters. Hours ago, a special needs shelter opened at the Osceola Council on Aging. This is in Kissimmee. At 5 in the evening, a shelter opened for people who live in Good Samaritan Village. Now, you may remember that community got hit hard with major flooding during Hurricane Ian. If you live in the Good Samaritan Village, you can go to the shelter at Central Avenue Elementary School, and starting at 8 o'clock in the morning, several pet-friendly shelters will open to the public. They're located at Kissimmee Middle School, Harmony High School, Gateway High School, and Liberty High School. The county is also opening 3 other shelters at Celebration High, the Kenansville Community Center, and the Holopah Community Center.
News 6's Eric Sandoval joins us now live. Eric, you are near Lake Toho there, downtown Kissimmee. Do you feel like folks are taking heed of all the warnings there?
I would say slowly but surely, Matt. You know, photojournalist Homer Salcedo and I actually went up and down Broadway here. We're sort of surprised that not a lot of businesses boarded up. I want to show you the few that have. Right down the street here is Lanier's Marketplace, which is an antique store here in downtown Kissimmee. Then across the street is the Lewis Music Company. You can see the plywood is just, covering the windows there, even their doorway. And then a little bit farther up the street here is a Latin Grill that has their sandbags protecting their doors and also some plywood up. We can only hope that as the sun comes up a little bit later on this morning, that more people will jump on the bandwagon and realize that, even though the models right now are bringing Milton a little bit south of here, it may wobble again and come back north. Regardless, we're going to see some pretty hefty winds here. And honestly, this is why this is a concern. We have these string lights that are on a lot of the businesses up and down Broadway here. And, we get a big gust of wind, this is going to be a projectile and really pose a danger here. I want to talk a little bit about what Ginger was just talking about, too. It's starting to sprinkle here in downtown Kissimmee right now. Osceola County has sent out an urgent message to the people who live here in Kissimmee, St. Cloud, Holopah, all of Osceola County. If you live in a low-lying area, you really need to be taking this seriously because, again, even though Milton's wobbling just a little bit, they're expecting between 10 and 15 inches of rain here within that little short span of time. That means there could be some really big flash flooding here. So if you've experienced flooding before, or if you live in a low-lying area, those evacuation shelters are here for a reason. Bring supplies, bring your blankets, bring your sleeping bags, bring a book. You need something to do while you're there, but bring what you have and seek shelter in those because, they're there for a reason, and you really need to take advantage of what the government is basically offering you, a safe place to stay. We're live in downtown Kissimmee this morning. Eric Sandoval getting results. News 6. Back to you.
Yeah, with the current track, it looks like Kissimmee could see some really heavy winds from this thing if it stays the way it looks. All right, we've heard about the stress of the oncoming hurricane bringing out the worst in some people, but sometimes it also brings out the best.
Thankfully, right? On Ryan Welch's search for gas, he came across a man who just finished helping friends in Asheville recover from Hurricane Helene. Now he's here to help his friends in Central Florida.
All right, here at the Speedway in Winter Park, talking now with Garrett. Garrett's from New York, but he's down here in Central Florida helping some folks out, some friends out ahead of Hurricane Milton. And one of the stories, one of the byproducts of this is, everyone's out looking to fill up and whatnot. Have you had any issues? Is this your first stop trying to get gas?
No. So actually, I've seen probably at least a dozen gas stations all taped up, out of fuel. I did go to one gas station and I was in line, but I guess at the top of the hour, all the pumps went off. So everybody had to leave.
Yeah.
So luckily I was able to find one. I filled up. So I've got a full tank right now, but I'm like, if I can get another gallon or two and just keep it topped off, because I know what's going to happen after this.
Yeah, of course, for sure. You're helping friends out. How are they doing in terms of preparations and whatnot?
For the most part, everybody's doing pretty well. Everybody was heeding to the warnings, so they kind of prepped, prepared, fueled up their cars, went to the store, got water, all that kind of stuff. So, after, hopefully this is not that bad. And if they need my help, then I'll be there ready to go.
You see, folks, Garrett is one of the good people we have on this great planet of ours, because before this, he was helping out folks in Asheville, North Carolina after Hurricane Helene. And I mean, that just a brutal situation there. How was that to deal with?
It was devastating. When you see what they went through, and I mean, complete destruction, you know. So I was up there helping with water distribution. The National Guard was up there, and you just see an entire town, I mean, under 20, 30 feet of water. I mean, these people are starting from scratch. And the smallest things like toiletries, clothing, goes along. That to them is gold.
Garrett, thanks for taking a few minutes. All the best to you riding up the storm with your friends, and thank you for all the work you've done in North Carolina as well.
Thank you.
I love Garrett's heart.
Yeah.
He's such a great guy. Be a Garrett during the storm.
We all need more Garretts. The fact that he's going from that situation down to dealing with a hurricane down here is impressive.
Fantastic, yeah. Our coverage on Hurricane Milton and the preparations continues next.
All right, let's talk about Brevard County here. Shelters are opening. 3 shelters in just a few hours. They will be at the South Mainland Community Center in Micco, the Walter Butler Community Center in Cocoa, and the Wickham Park Community Center in Melbourne. They are set to open at 9 a.m.
News 6's James Barbero joins us now live from a neighborhood in Cape Canaveral. And James, you were saying earlier tonight that you wonder if you're going to be able to stand in that same spot about this time tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right, Matt and Ginger, and I'll find out in about 24 hours. We all will. Now, some of my neighbors here in Cape Canaveral, they've put up their shutters. I wondered if they were going to, considering it is going to be a Gulf Coast landfall. Of course, when you look at the path of the storm and the possibility that Brevard might be the exit of the hurricane, makes a lot of sense. I put a Facebook link to one of our stories on clickorlando.com telling people that I am noticing more people putting up their shutters, and they told me about how sometimes some of their neighbors, all of their neighbors, entire streets, like in Palm Bay, for example, had put up those shutters. So you mentioned the 3 shelters that are going to open in the morning. Over here on the other side of this neighborhood where you see mobile homes, this is what the county's concerned about the most. So mobile homes, or people who live in neighborhoods where it tends to flood. If you know you live somewhere when it rains and it tends to flood, they're really opening those shelters for you. That's the point for most of them. And I think it's going to be the first time that they've opened the shelters. I can't even remember if they opened them for Ian and Nicole. They probably did. I definitely remember they did for Dorian and certainly for Irma back in 2017. So they're going to open in the morning. Other things to know about here in Brevard. Schools are going to be closed throughout the rest of the week. Originally, the plan was to close schools Wednesday and Thursday. Earlier, about 12 hours ago, we are overnight now, about 12 hours ago, the school district announced that Friday schools will be closed as well. The courts are closed now. They're probably closed throughout the week as well. If you have a cruise anytime in the next few days, Port Canaveral always advises you check directly with the cruise line to see if your cruise is delayed or not. That's really all we have to report. I will say I was encouraged, Matt and Ginger, earlier when I went to a sandbag distribution site in Merritt Island today. So 2 days ago, I have a friend who said he waited 7.5 hours for sandbags at that distribution site. It was at Mitchell Ellington Park off of Hall Road in North Merritt Island. When I was there today, about 10, 11 hours ago, a man towards the front of the line, he had told me he had only waited about an hour and a half. So great job, everybody who got the people sand much faster today.
Yeah, you would think if you went earlier, you wouldn't have to wait. That is
Maybe that's
job.
the key. Procrastinate
No,
with all this.
that is not.
I wouldn't wait 7.5 hours for a Springsteen concert. I can't believe, but I would to save my house.
Don't you say that in front of Jamie.
I know. I'll have to be very careful. Let's get an update on this thing. The track has been moving ever so slightly. We pay such close attention to these little wobbles. And Samara Kokinos, tell us how things are looking, because it's interesting. It is being guided by the unseen, the things that we cannot see with our naked eye.
Right. So I want to show you the water vapor imagery right off the top. We have this dip in the jet stream over here with all of this dry air, really giving this very healthy Category 5 hurricane a little boost to the north and east and a little pickup in forward motion, moving at about 12 miles per hour. But I want to show you something else. Over the weekend, I was talking about a very weak front passing by and stalling out across South Florida. That front has all of this moisture ahead of it. So this has kind of separated itself from Milton. Now the thing is, this front is actually going to move back to the north just a smidge toward Lake Okeechobee, and it's going to pull a lot of moisture into our local area overnight going into tomorrow morning. And then we're also dealing with a front to our north. That one is going to sandwich all of that moisture here in central Florida as Milton begins to make its landfall, and we're going to notice that it doesn't have any place to go, and the heaviest part of the rain is going to be on that northern side of the storm. So let me show you the track. Hasn't changed. We're looking at the 2 a.m. advisory, and we're dealing with that northeast motion at 12 miles per hour. Millibars have gone up just a smidge. We're talking about 912 millibars going up to 914 millibars, still 160 mile per hour winds. Notice as it makes its way toward the Gulf Coast, it does begin to decrease in intensity just a little bit. But the thing is, it's been going back and forth between a 3 and a 4. And I think we're going to still see the intensity adjust as we head forward into the next 12 hours or so. Looking ahead, so we're talking about the worst of the weather arriving Wednesday night, going into the overnight Thursday and early morning and even afternoon on Thursday afternoon. So looking at it, maintaining that category 1 intensity, even as it exits into the Atlantic. So we're going to be dealing with widespread impacts well outside this storm. We're seeing the tropical storm force wind field expand as this system continues to grow, and it's going to grow more before it makes landfall, so that wind field could expand even more. But 140 miles out from the center are where tropical storm force winds are. So when we look at your wind gusts, hurricane force winds are about 30 miles from the center. We're expecting that to possibly expand as well with time and growth, of course. But when we look at your wind gust potential, notice going from Orlando back to the north, 55 to 75 miles per hour, to the south, outside that purple area in Polk County, anywhere between 75 and up to 100 mile per hour wind gusts. But you get into Polk County near Lakeland and going back toward that Tampa Bay area, and you see the potential to see possibly exceeding 100 mile per hour wind gusts. So all of this, of course, in addition to a lot of rain. We look at the excessive rain outlook, and you notice it incorporates much of the I-4 corridor in central Florida. So notice how large it is. Even with the rainfall that we're anticipating, those numbers could fluctuate a little bit. So watch this. This is the moisture I was telling you about overnight into tomorrow morning. I don't believe we really start to see much severe activity until the second half of the day. That's when we get that squally weather. Second half of the afternoon, we'll start to see the intensity pick up. Moisture's really funneling in. We'll start to see the spinning motion, so we could have some tornado warnings in addition to all this heavy rain. Then some drier air starts to work in a little bit, possibly shaving down rainfall totals, at least I would say from southernmost Volusia County going back into southern Lake County, 3 to 6 inches. But look at that northern area. I told you it was going to get pushed back into central Florida, and all that moisture has to go somewhere, and it's going to go down on our ground. It's going to sit there, and basically until this system moves offshore, we're really looking at a lot of rainfall potential here, and it is not going to take much to flood because we have saturated grounds from a decent amount of rainfall that we've even started the month with. So looking at your rainfall potential with the in-house Barron model, we're looking at anywhere between about 3 to 6 inches going from Brevard County back into the metro and up near that I-4 corridor, north and west of that I-4 corridor, possibly seeing rainfall amounts 10 to 12 inches, maybe even exceeding that. So that'll be definitely something that we keep an eye on. But here's a look at your 7-day forecast. We'll be dealing with these really rough conditions. We need you to wrap up everything you need to do by noon tomorrow. Get indoors. It's already going to be raining anyway. Winds will pick up as we head into the afternoon. The roughest weather overnight Wednesday going into early Thursday and part of the day, and going into the evening on Thursday afternoon and evening. But look at this. After that, high pressure settles in. Cooler, drier air will help things to dry out a little bit and give us some time to really clean up. But I can tell you right now, those winds, they're not going to let up immediately. It's actually going to gradually decrease as we head through the weekend and into next week. News 6, we'll be right back.
It's safe to say all of Central Florida needs to take Milton very seriously.
Yeah, businesses are being boarded up and down both Florida coasts. So let's get the latest on what it looks like in St. Augustine tonight with reporter Alicia Hatcher.
The streets of downtown St. Augustine are completely empty as people prepare for Hurricane Milton. Local businesses have placed tape around the borders of their windows and doors to prevent any water from coming in. And take a look inside. This particular restaurant is normally filled with several dining tables and chairs, but that has since been removed and taken to the back. And if we walk a little further, they have also placed sandbags and a large barrier, hoping for less water to come in. Other businesses are making similar preparations here in this area, hoping for less damage. For now, reporting in St. Augustine, Alicia Hatcher, back to you in the studio.
Turning now to some good news here. The Salvation Army shared this video with us. They handed out 100 backpacks yesterday now, filled with essential items to individuals experiencing homelessness. These backpacks had crucial supplies like toiletries, blankets, washcloths, pillows, and durable shelter bags, which are specifically designed to be waterproof and portable. Along with the backpacks, the organization distributed food, hygiene kits, and provided spiritual care for these folks. The city of Orlando and Orange County are urging the homeless to stay in shelters today. The city has teams working their way through the city, letting people know how to get to that nearest shelter. Well, Bridget Ellison and Lewis Bolden will join you back after this break in just a couple of minutes. They'll continue our team coverage on Milton as we get close to that 2 a.m. update.